Hello, lecturer and classmates. Our and the group presentation today is Desuggestopedia. It is one kind of teaching methods. Diana and I will share our responsibility and to present views about it. Desuggestopedia, we cover 6 points. I will present you the first 3 points: introduction, experience, thinkings about the experience. Diana will do reviewing the principles, reviewing the techniques, and conclusion. And this Desuggestopedia, and I just want to tell you like where this Desuggestopedia is from. This Desuggestopedia is derived from the silent wave. The generator of the silent wave is Caleb Gatino. Because of the silent wave still have some gaps that the suggestibility come to and fill it. The reasons that Lozano suggests new principle, the suggestibility, because and he believes that the previous teaching method, set up psychological barrier for learning, and most important things, and students are unable to use their full mental capacity. What he observes is that the students can use only or around 10% in their learning. That's why the suggestibility come to help the student to learn. The suggestibility and what he believes can help the student to eliminate the negative feeling of unsuccessful in learning. In his new suggestibility, the student mental ability, the student mental reserve are from the stimulation and through the integration of the fire. It means with the student can learn the language with the music, which is very important contribution to the method. You will see how the Desuggestopedia is applied. And Desuggestopedia is a teaching method. As you can see in this Desuggestopedia class is very different. Um, the student learn the language for communication naturally. The student learn vocabulary to short and long dialogue, and all the vocab and dialogues are naturally related. One more important thing, in this learning, the student can learn vocab from the task assigned. Like here, the task, the student come to the class. I can see all the materials like hats, masks, other music instrument, and the student can see like grammatical structure on the posters, subject pronouns, object pronouns, conjunctions, etc. And the language teacher in this structure superiority speak confidently that the student learn the language naturally. Okay, have a look at the Desuggestopedia class. Focuses on natural communication. And as you have known, natural communication means dialogue. Teacher start with vocabulary. So this class and teacher and ask the student and to choose English name on poster hanging on the wall. After choosing their English name, teacher and they tell the student it's funny. All the students are asked to read, all the English name and pronounce the English names correctly. And he goes to the profession. The student have to choose the profession, and the teacher and do not tell the student directly the meaning in their mother tongue. And teacher try to pantomime to help student to understand the profession. After the student like understand and pronounce the profession and understand the meaning of the professions, the teacher start short dialogue as I have already presented the previous slide. This case study focuses on natural communication from vocab to short and then long dialogue. Now go to short dialogue. The student like start greeting their name and profession, with their teacher with yes no question like what's my name is your name is blah blah blah, are you a pilot, yes or no, it's yes no question with name and profession. The Desuggestopedia teacher asked the student to unwork the short dialogue with his RAM music to make sure that the student, are happy to learn and new word, new and structure, and naturally and happily. In this Desuggestopedia, teaching, like classroom teaching in the classroom, teachers play important role. Music also and plays important role in the teaching the language. After teaching and vocab with good pronunciation in and intonation from the beginning, and important structures from the short dialogue, and teacher link vocab and short dialogue to long dialogue with 20 page, with two columns, English and Arabic in translation. And the teacher give comments about vocabulary and grammar in Arabic translation part to make sure that the student can and understand English, the dialogue clearly. And after that, and the student like drilling after, and the teacher drill by reading the dialogue in English. Teacher also gives them sufficient time to look at both English and the Arabic. So and then like here I have already mentioned this Desuggestopedia music play important role in helping the student to learn. They feel like happy and they feel like wanting and to learn the language. So the teachers and play music in quiet voice after and teacher and reading the dialogue time to time with the student. And so teacher also read the dialogue again like with good intonation along quiet music. Art is very important in teaching. And teacher like also still drills the student, like the teacher and teacher still give time to the student to practice. The teacher pauses from time to time to allow the student to listen to the music, and all the students are asked to repeat the dialogue, with her reading. And then teacher doesn't continue, teacher still give time student to relax. After break, the student also come to the class and then read the dialogue again on the poster in front of the class or and in the class. And this time and student to act the dialogue out by working in the group, introduce themselves in their new identity, like and from the vocab and short dialogue again. And the teacher, after that, the teacher asked the student to greet the student by having them to introduce themselves in their new identities once again. And teacher and take out the dialogue, and scripts. And at that time, in teaching the dialogue, and teacher doesn't and give homework and to the student. Student just get the dialogue at home, and then and they can read again and again at home. And then when they come back, the student will and they practice the dialogue and want to ask the dialogue out again. But after they come back from home, they will ask the dialogue out again. In this Desuggestopedia, teaching in the classroom, teachers play important role. Music also plays important role in the teaching the language. For my last part, present you the thinkings about the experience and the suggest and Stopedia class. And as I have already presented, this classroom is very different. It means that it's bright and colorful. Why is it that? Because learning must be cheerful. Learning is important to be in cheerful environment. And as you can see, number two, and this class poster, a lot of poster and hung on the wall with grammatical information, because the Desuggestopedia class wants students to learn from what is present in the environment, even if their attention is not directed to it. We can say peripheral learning. And teacher as well, number three, and speak confidently, because they want the student to trust the teacher. And when they trust, they will accept. They will accept what they will learn, and they will accept the information what they will learn better. And number four, and the teacher gives the student impression that learning Thai language will be easy and enjoyable. He always say the language they are going to learn is easy and enjoyable, and because the teacher want to cope with psychological barrier with them in learning situation, so the teacher should attempt to suggest this. Number five, the student choose new names and identity. Here, new name, like they have to choose new names and identity. So the purpose that new identity, new names, teacher want to enhance the student feeling of security and allows them to be more open. They feel less inhibited. Say the student introduce themselves to the teacher. Here the time, and the teacher have time to do the dialogue, to practice the dialogue, and the dialogue contain the language they can use immediately. Number seven, the student plays rhymes instrument as they sing along. Songs are useful for praising the speech method and evoking positive emotion and for the student to learn. And the teacher distribute lengthy handouts to the class, and the title of the dialogue is "To Want to Be Able." And teacher doesn't want and to limit what they can do in their learning. So the teacher must integrate an indirect positive suggestion. Now the teacher briefly mentioned a few points about English grammar and vocab. These are both print in the dialogue. So it is very important because the teacher explain grammar and vocab but not dwell on them. Like bold print allows students to focus on the shift from the whole text to the detail before they return to the whole text again. Dynamic interplay between the whole and the part is important. There are reproduction of classical painting throughout the fine art. Say fine art provide positive suggestion for students. 11 in the suggested teaching. There are two columns, like one in target language and other in native language translation. So this is the way that meaning is made clear. This is the way that through the native language translation. 12. The teacher reads the dialogue with musical accompaniment. She matches her voice to the rhyme and intonation of the music. Here, communication takes place. So the teacher reads dialogue with musical accompaniment. She matches her voice to the rhyme and intonation of the music. Here, communication takes place. Okay, and the linguistic method is encoded. The student can learn the language subconsciously and consciously. 13, teacher reads the script a second time. Other students listen. It is done to different music. Here the reason a calm state, say as the state experiences when listening to the concert is ideal for overcoming psychological barrier and for taking advantage of learning potential. 14, for homework, the student are so in at this time, like distinguish the difference between conscious and subconscious is most blur and so learning can occur. 15. A teacher gives student hats to wear for the different character in the dialogue. Students take turn reading portion of the dialogue with drama, and here dramatization is a partly valuable way of playfully activating the material. Fantasy reduce barrier to learning. 16. Teacher tells the student that they are auditioning for the play. The fine art, music, art, drama enable suggestion to reach the subconscious. The art should therefore be integrated as much as possible into the teaching process. 17. Teacher leads the class in various activities involving dialogue, for example, question and answer, repetition, and translation. The teacher help the student to activate the material to which and they have been exposed. The mean of doing should be varied so as to avoid repetition as much as possible. 18. Teacher teaches the student children's song, music, and environment reinforce student to learn, like get the linguistic material. 19. And teacher and student play a question and answer game. In an atmosphere of play, the conscious attention of learner does not focus on linguistic form, but rather than using the language. Learning can be fun. The teacher and student play a question and answer game, so learning can be fun. Student can learn and can focus on the language easily. 20. And student can make an error by saying, "How do you do?" Teacher corrects the error in a soft voice. Errors are corrected gently, not in a direct confrontational manner. So in this Desuggestopedia, students are not correct, directly because students feel ashamed and they will not learn. Now it comes to the end of my parts, the last three parts. I now will do it.
Alright, so good evening, lecturer, and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brother Janta. I'm going to continue our part in the Desuggestopedia method of teaching. So the part 4 of our presentation is about reviewing the principles. So in order to review the principles of this method, we're going to answer 10 questions. The first question is, what are the goals of teachers who use the Desuggestopedia? So teachers use the Suggestopedia to accelerate the process by which students learn to use another language for everyday communication. So this Suggestopedia is used to help students learning the language better and faster. And the goal of this Suggestopedia is to focus mainly on communication. In order to accomplish that, the teacher suggests the psychological barriers learners bring the learning situation. The word suggest means to, it is to eliminate, to get rid of the negative feeling. So this Suggestopedia is mainly used to reinforce the positive feeling and to release the full power, mental power for students in order to learn in a relaxed and happy, fun manner instead of the pressure setting by the traditional way of teaching. Question number 2 is, what is the role of the teacher and what is the role of the student? So the teacher is mainly the authority of the classroom. What the teacher needs to do is to be confident and to be trustable so that the, the students can believe in the teacher and follow what is given by the teacher. And what the student need to do is just trust and respect the teacher in learning. So when the student have confidence in the teacher, they will be more responsive and they will retain the information given by the teacher better. And also it can help for them to succeed in their learning easily also. And as the student trusts the teacher, of course, they can feel more secure. And when the student is secure, they will become more spontaneous and less inhibited. The next question, number 3, is what are some characteristics of teaching and learning process? So in the Desuggestopedia, the teacher will teach the student in a relaxed and fun classroom environment. So the classroom is decorated in a bright and cheerful environment. Around the classroom, there will be posters on the wall, and there will be grammatical information. There will be grammar lessons on the walls around the classroom. The teacher may bring the attention of the students to this poster, or they may not. And this poster will usually be changed and replaced every now and then so that the student is learning in the environment with their target language surrounding them. For the students, they're going to be given new identities, and they're going to create their own biography of this new identity, meaning that they're going to choose and select names, their names, okay, in the target language, and they're going to choose a new job or new occupation for themselves also. So this is similar to a role play in a way that student is having a new identity in the target language. And during the teaching, the student will be given the handouts, which have normally contain long dialogues. It can be as long as 800 words in the target language. And next to the dialogues itself, there will be a translation of the student native language. There will be some notes on the vocabulary and grammar related to the dialogues as well. The teacher will read and present the dialogues during the two concerts, which is what is called in these teaching techniques. So these two concerts are in what we call the receptive phase. So in the receptive phase, there will be two concerts. The first concert, the teacher will read the dialogues with the classical music in the background, and the teacher will try to read dialogue slowly with the music and the rhythm of the music. And that way it is believed that the student's brain will become activated. And the student will follow the dialogue on the copies of their paper as the teacher reading it out loud. They can also check the translation of the dialogues next to what is given to them. And after the first concert is finished, during the second concert, the student will listen again to the teacher reading the dialogue, but this time at a normal speed. And they will listen calmly. The teacher read it with a normal speed with the music accompany while the teacher reading it also. And the students will be given homework. For their homework, they have to read the dialogue over again at home before they go to sleep, and one more time when they get up in the morning. This is what we call the receptive phase, okay, of the Desuggestopedia. And during the second phase, we call the active phase, the student will engage in different activities. These activities are designed to help them learning, to facilitate their learning with the new materials. And those activities are usually fun activity without any pressure in like the traditional teaching way. And those activities often include games, songs, or normal kind of fun exercise. Number 4, what is the nature of student-teacher interaction and what is the nature of student and student interaction? So between student and teacher, the teacher will be the one who initiate the interactions. Um, so the student will start the interaction with a whole group of students or with the individuals from the beginning of the language course or the lessons. So at first, the students can only respond to the teacher in two ways. One is non-verbally, or they can respond to the teacher with a few words in their target language that they have practiced. And then, between student and student, they will start the interaction with each other during the role play that is given by the teacher. So they can start initiating the interaction between themselves. Number 5, how are the feelings of the students dealt with? So the student will often be in a relaxed and confident manner. So they don't need to try very hard to learn the language. There's no pressure given to the student while learning the language. And their learning will just come naturally and easily. So it is considered important for this method that the student mental obstacle or barriers will be eliminated. And the teacher should always make sure that the student feel secure in learning. So as they feel more secure, they will feel more open to study or learn their target language as well. Number 6, how is language viewed? How is culture viewed? So the language is the first of the two planes in the two-plane process of communication. So in the second plane are the factors that influence the linguistic message. For example, the way people dress or one person dresses, or the nonverbal behavior that we use, it can also affect how one person interprets the message of the language we're using. While um, the culture it concerns or it is about the everyday life of the people who speak the target language. So the culture of the language students learning is something, for example, like we're learning English right here, so we're also learn the culture of English people or England, the country itself, while learning the language. So yes, the culture which student learns concern the everyday life of people who speak the target language they are learning. So this recommend that the use of fine art is also important in this kind of method that the class is using. Number 7, what are the area of language are emphasized and what language skills are emphasized? So in this teaching method, there are 5 skills that are mentioned. So the vocabulary is strictly emphasized. So it focuses on a lot of words that the student can learn or acquire. The grammar is also dealt with, but it is explicitly and but minimally. So that means they deal with the grammar as well, but they try to minimize the focus of the learning of the grammar itself. Speaking is mainly focused on communicative communication is really focused on in the Desuggestopedia. So the goal of the Desuggestopedia is to teach students everyday communication. So of course, speaking and listening is very important in this method. While reading and writing is also used, so the student read in the target language, the teacher read in the target language, and also write in it. Number 8, what is the role of the student native language? So, native language translation is used to make sure the student understand the meaning of the dialogue or of the conversation the teacher is reading. So the teacher can also use the native language when it is necessary, when it is important for the student to understand the target language. But as the class goes on, the teacher will try to use the native language or the translation less and less. Number 9, how is the evaluation accomplished? So the teacher mostly conduct the online in-class performance. There's no formal test, which is believed to be, pressure, a big pressure for students. So there's no test, but the teacher will assess the student performance every day in class, and scores are given to students in everyday learning. And next one, how does the teacher respond to students' error? So the teacher tries to correct the student's mistake gently, without making it too obvious, and in order to make students understand what their mistake is and not feeling bad about it or ashamed, embarrassed about the mistake they're making, the teacher will use a soft, gentle voice to correct the mistakes. Okay, the next part is part 5. We're going to talk about reviewing the techniques. So there are 9 techniques suggested in here. Of course, the teacher can follow the techniques in here, or they can use any technique or adapt it in their own teaching style. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as what is suggested in these 9 techniques. So number 1 is what we call classroom setup. So in this Desuggestopedia, the classroom should be bright and cheerful. The students should learn in a very fun classroom environment. And the walls should be decorated in the target language with, the grammar, the words, or whatever the teacher thinks is important for their learning. It should also be changed occasionally from time to time. But these conditions are not always possible for the teacher. So the teacher should try to provide as positive an environment as possible in order for the student to learn effectively. Peripheral learning. So these techniques is based upon the idea that we perceive, okay, much more in our environment than we consciously notice. So when you put the posters that have the grammar's information or the vocabulary words information about the target language around the classroom, the student will learn and absorb this information easily, like unconsciously. The teacher may or may not call attention to them. Okay, this is what may or may not call attention to them. But it should be changed from time to time as the lesson progresses. The next technique is what we call positive suggestion. So the teacher will have the student break down the barrier to learning through 2 kind of suggestions. it is what we call direct suggestion, which is something that can help students learn consciously. Okay, that's what we say. A teacher will tell students, for example, that they are going to be successful, that they are going to learn this language easily. So they can suggest the student in a positive way to help them learn. And the indirect suggestion is what appeals to the student subconscious. So, for example, the indirect suggestion was accomplished in a class we visited through the choice of a dialogue entitled "To Want is to Be Able to." So, this is how the teacher can help the student um, break down the barriers or the mental barriers in learning the target language. And the next part is choosing a new identity. So, the characteristics of this Desuggestopedia is students having new identities in their target language. So, students will choose a new name, a new occupation. For example, like if we are learning the English and our name is in Khmer, we can change our name to something like John or Sarah. So, we choose a new identity that is suitable for our target language. And as we learn or as the lesson goes, the students, okay, will ask to pretend to be those people, the new identity they are picking, and they will develop a whole biography about their fictional selves. The role play. So after they have chosen their new identity, of course they will pretend to be that one, as I told you. It will not be a permanent identity. It will be temporarily, and students will only use this identity during the class while they are learning the language, and they will perform the target language as they were that person itself. And then the next one is what we call first concert. So as you remember, the two concerts are very important elements of the receptive pace of the lessons. So the teacher will introduce the story of the dialogue to the student, and then he or she will play a classical music, and then the teacher will read the dialogue slowly in their language, and their intonation will rise and goes down as the music goes according to the rhythm, and the student will follow the teacher with a copy of the dialogue in their target language along with the translation of the dialogue next to it. The second concert, the student will put away their script, and this time the teacher will read the dialogues again, but it is at a normal speed, not as slowly as the first concert, where the teacher will read slowly and raise their voice or intonation according to the rhythm of the music. So this time it is at a normal speed with the music in the background also. And after this concert is finished, this is where the class ends for the day. The next techniques is what we call primary activation. So primary activation is a part of the active pace of the lesson. So this time the student will be the one who read the dialogue, and they will read it playfully in a fun way without any pressure. They will read it out loud. It can be individually or in groups. And during the lesson, the teacher will observe three groups of students who read the parts of the dialogues in different particular manner. So it might be the first group is reading the dialogue sadly, the next one is reading it angrily, and the last group is reading it cheerfully. And the last technique is what we call creative adaptation. So the students engage in various fun activity. Those activities are designed to help them learn the new material and use it immediately while they are learning. And those activities usually something include something fun such as singing, dancing, it can be role play, it can be games. So something that students can learn in a relaxed and playful manner without any pressure. And the most important thing is that these activities are mainly focused on communication, not the form of the target language. Okay, so in conclusion, what do you think about this method, Desuggestopedia? So Desuggestopedia is actually a very good technique for teacher that want to help student learning the target language in a very relaxed classroom environment. And this technique is mainly used mostly in a small classroom. Not all classroom can use or apply these techniques, but of course, the teacher can adapt this kind of technique in their classroom in order to um, make it suitable for the kind of students they are learning. So thank you, lecturer, and thank you everyone for your attention. That is the end of our presentation.